Okay, so today we are back with Gary Numan, and we have My Breathing. Now, this might be a track just out of left field, but this song was emailed to me, and somebody said, you have not reacted to Gary in a while. Could you do this song? And I thought, well, what the hell? Let's do it, I guess. I've never reacted to anything from Gary later on in his career. This is 1986. Pretty much everything I've done is from his early stuff. So we're going to get into this, talk about it after. And from what I've read too, it was a tumultuous time in the studio to get this album done. People have also said this album is not very good, but this is the best track off of it. So anyway, let's get into it, talk about it after. 6 minutes, 41 seconds. So strap in. Here we go. And I'm sorry if you can hear the rain, but it's raining hard outside. Eerie off the bat. Unpredictable. Almost like Smooth Criminal. away there. Oh my goodness. Well, that had a strange charm to it. My goodness gracious. My Breathing by Gary Numan. So, like I said off the top, I've never reacted or listened to in my own private life anything from Gary Numan at this point in his career, 1986, mid-80s. Again, things I've listened to, the Two-Way Army, of course, and in his early stuff. And anyway, I was coming in kind of blind, and again, people saying that this era wasn't the best for him, and from what I've read too, this was it was a slog to make, I guess. In the recording studio, he said it was a very hard album to finish. There were some fights going on in the studio as well. It was a very tense situation. So you think about those tense things, and you think how that can bleed over into the music that you're trying to do, and the lyrics you're trying to write. And I feel like for this too, all that that intensity, whatever you want to say, does kind of maybe bleed over into the lyrics, because I feel like here you're talking about, I mean, these lyrics are pretty oblique. They're pretty obscure. I would expect nothing less from Gary Numan. I mean, he's talked about mechanical things before. He's talked about robots and whatever the hell. So I think about those things and what he's talking about there. But I've also seen people say that he's kind of dissing certain things, and BBC One, for example, as well, and how his music was not being, I guess, played on the radio and stuff like that. So all these things that I read coming into this, it kind of makes sense now with what Gary is saying here, and him talking about just whether you say My Breathing is about his own breathing or whatever, what he has to do to get back into the mainstream music scene. And I just feel like he seems to be, at least through this, he was probably kind of done with the mainstream music scene as well. I mean, Gary's always just been such a different kind of guy, I guess you could say, a unique personality, and a unique guy musically as well. Hello. But yeah, so anyway, all those things come to my head, and it creates one of the moodiest, eeriest, if that's a word, most eerie tracks I've come across in a while here. Right from the get-go. I mean, and again, I just wanted to mention this too, though, about the album cover. I mean, his hair is blonde, I guess, almost white as well. I mean, he has a completely different look too. And, but anyway, going into the song here, I mean, it's dark, it's ominous, like I said, it's a bit frightening, it's unpredictable. Like I did say, it almost reminded me of like Smooth Criminal. I don't know, just the intro to that. And then right when I said that, here comes the electronics, and just a booming sound right away there, and it kind of startled me. And of course I said Smooth Criminal right as we were going to get into it. But yeah, with just the atmospheric, almost windy kind of feel, if everything felt chilly, I mean, I don't know, this is all what came across to my big fat head. And yeah, I was just like, I was taken aback just for a second. And again, you're kind of waiting for things to kick off, or for the synths to come in, or guitar parts. And another part of this is that Gary, from what I've seen, again, he really wanted guitars to be a big point of this, compared to his other work, where I feel like guitars weren't a big thing, as well as a saxophone inclusion on this album. That was obviously very prominent in the track here too. I mean, you had the echoing, or I guess the reverberating saxophone on this. You had these strings as well. I think there was a violin on this track too. But just either way, the string arrangements, whatever you want to call them, were very integral to the track too. And again, that big echoing, bellowing feel all the way through, that just created an even more dense, I guess you would say, atmospheric, one more time, mood. And yeah, just the vibes here were just, again, very unpredictable and very thick. Everything just felt thick. I mean, it's murky. I can't say it enough. I mean, my God. And I feel like I'm on the edge of coughing every time, because I'm still getting over a cold. But anyway, so I apologize if I do start coughing. But yeah, it's just, yeah, I don't know how else to fucking put it. But his voice, I want to talk about his voice. Actually, first, the first voice that comes in, I'm like, hold on, I know this is a different kind of era for him, but did he change his voice up that much? Like, he had such a high voice or what? But no, of course, it's there was a woman on here, and looking at the personnel, I do see two names, and I want to say this is maybe Tessa Niles, but there's also Linda Taylor, who appears on this album, so I don't know if it was Tessa or Linda. I think it's Tessa, but she had a beautiful voice to come in here, and like I said, I was thinking, that's not Gary, is it? But anyway, beautiful voice. She had it's the voice of as I say, like a siren voice, or I'm thinking of something like Liz Fraser in a way as well. Just something so haunting, but also beautiful. Anyway, so that came in, and I was like, oh, that catches your attention. And then here comes Gary. And Gary, he still had that quintessential voice where the way he pronounces words and the way he said a word like paper, or papers or whatever, the way I can't replicate how he does it, but it just, he almost seemed to be not giving a fuck. And it's like, he does finish the words, but the way he does it is just, there's a kind of carefree one more time when I do have to cough. There we go there. But yeah, just more on his voice, like I was talking about there. Just a swagger, a lot of swagger to his vocals one more time. And just the way, I don't want to replicate it, but just the just like that. And just, I don't know, he just, the way he did it, the way he sang here was just fun to me. And a bit eerie too. It was haunting himself too. And you never know where he was going. And yeah, so it's just that quintessential quirky, I guess I should say, sound from Gary, both musically and vocally as well. But yeah, it was just a lot of fun for me to listen to. I mean, no matter what, again, there's different guitars on this, and the strong strumming that I know Gary was on guitars, and there was other people on guitars on the track too, but just strong, bold feels the whole way through. And like I said, the strings were strong as well. And it was just so much coming at you. It was like a punch to the gut. But like I said, for 7 minutes straight, pretty much. And anyway, had my attention the whole way through, and I really enjoyed the sound here, the new sound to me anyway. And it's crazy because this one grabs you, like I said, and I liked it. So I might just have to go into the rest of the album myself, I guess, just to see what the hell else, where people say it just falls off after this, I guess. But either way, well, like I said, people have said it's underrated, and some people just say it's terrible. But let's get into the personnel here. I've talked about some of them already, but of course, Gary Numan, this is for the album, of course, the whole album of Strange Charm. Gary's on vocals, keyboards, and guitars. And no matter how he changes up his music, I would imagine there's always going to be synths. I mean, yeah, that's just his sound, and he was a pioneer in bringing that, bringing that sound into new wave, into synth pop, whatever you want to say. Bill Sharp, also on keyboards here. Of course, Bill Sharp and Gary Numan worked a lot together. Mike Smith on keyboards. Again, I don't know if all these people are on this song, but it's on the album anyway. Aid Orange, who I do believe was producer on this song and album, either way, but he's on keyboards and guitar. Russell Bell on guitar and backing vocals. Mark Ralton, I want to say there, or Rayton. My goodness gracious, Railton. My eyesight's terrible. But yeah, there you go there. Mark is on guitar though. Martin Elliott on bass. Chris Payne on violin. Chris Payne. That name sounds familiar. I feel like I might have listened to something he was in before for somebody. Anyway, Dick Morrissey is on saxophone, and I feel like that's what some people call the, Stephen Patrick Morrissey. They call him Dick Morrissey, but this is the actual Dick Morrissey on saxophone here. And like I said, that saxophone, who I guess, which Gary was kind of infatuated with at this time, with having a sax on his songs, but worked well here, I thought. I really enjoyed the pumps of the sax that just, again, reverberated throughout the whole thing. That made the track sound even more extravagant. Ian Heron, I want to say, is on drum machine programming. Roger Odell is on drum programming, and Tessa Niles and Linda Taylor are both on backing vocals, like I mentioned earlier. But yeah, my goodness gracious. I enjoyed, like I said with Aid Orange, and I know Gary kind of worked in it too with the audio mixing and all that stuff, but I thought the production and the mixing here, made it quite ominous, like I said, and quite dark and moody, and no matter what changes he was going through in his career, I mean, this still felt like a Gary Numan track to me. But anyway, let's get into these lyrics, which are, I don't know if I said this already, but they are a bit obscure, a bit different, and I mean, that's just what you expect from Gary, but let's try to decipher them, for me anyway, from my own point of view. Assassination of the voice of God. I mean, that's quite the first line. Holy fuck. I don't know if I could do it. I agree. I found the problem, and the problem's you. I don't want to be the person that he's talking about here. I mean, I've found the problem's you. It's just like, Jesus, what are you going to do to me? I'm here to pick up the pieces. All right. Well, he's here to pick up the pieces. That sounds not too bad. You won't remember me, but I do you. Again, he seems like a guy that's just on a mission here. He seems like a guy who's been torn down, and that's what I keep coming back to, is how he's kind of was talking about. I guess this was almost a diss in a way to the radio stations, the BBC One, to people who are kind of done with him, and how he's kind of gone to the back burner now. He's not, his music wasn't getting played at the time, whatever. I wasn't there then, but that's what I've read anyway. So that all comes out here, I feel like. And yeah, so he seems to be pretty bitter. I told you that I would be back, or I would come back. I mean, my goodness gracious, he's turning into the Terminator here. Everything will be decided here. They can read it in the papers. And again, I feel like maybe they haven't been reading about him in the papers in a while, and he wishes they would. But again, it just seems like she was going through such a hard time, and that's coming across here for me, in my opinion. The chorus, your breathing haunts me. My breathing, the sleep room still waits for me. And again, whether it's Tessa or Linda, I can't, go on. But beautiful vocals on this part, and then how Gary would pick up after her. It was just, I don't know, there's something sublime about that feeling, just the two of them on this track, which, it's such a contrast between her voice, which I said earlier was haunting but beautiful, and then Gary's, which is beautiful in his own way, but very haunting and very kind of robotic. I mean, that signature sound that he's always had. Tickle in my throat just won't go away. Second verse, join the army, you can see the world. And I feel like that's an old saying, when people wanted you to join the army and see the world, but also get shot and maybe die. I remember this one patrol, been liberating river towns, and we picked up the sex skin crawl. The lyrics are very detailed. They're very intriguing, obviously, but I don't know if I know everything that's going on here. Or is he just talking about his time as as touring the world when he was big and everyone cared, and now all of a sudden they don't, and he's triggered for good reason. The connection was a fragile thing, far too many distractions. And again, to me, is he just talking about his career? Is he just talking about what's led up to his time here now in 86 to where he is? All that comes to my mind. We have the chorus one more time. Third verse comes in, the last verse. I've been listening to the new DJ. And again, I think about BBC One. I think about all his troubles there. I've been listening to the new DJ. Hang the DJ, my goodness. What's all this original con? This seems like quite the diss already. We all live in the same museum. And I can't get over, but the way he would say, like, museum, just almost like a David Bowie kind of a thing. We all rearrange the same old song. Again, he's going at it. But yeah, he just seems to be so done with the pop music, whatever, of the 1980s, 80s, whatever at this point, but of 1986 and what he hears on the radio. Assassination by the radio. There you go there. Friggin', I don't know if they can do it. I found the problem and the problem's won. BBC One more time. I'm here to pick up the pieces. I'm here to pick up the pieces and come back, maybe. And then we have the chorus again. But yeah, it's just, I feel like I can kind of understand where he's coming from here. But I feel like for Gary Numan, there's always that sense of leaving the lyrics a bit open to interpretation. Although you might understand some bits, they're always going to be a bit oblique, and they're always going to be a bit wondrous, whatever the hell. But at the end of the day, though, you can kind of understand that he's pretty bitter, he's pretty fed up, he's pretty mad, he's pretty angry, and I guess in the studio that's what he was feeling too. And like I said, the studio was pretty tense, so I'm not surprised that the song is pretty tense as well. But it's quite the melody, quite the melange, whatever the hell, of noises, sounds, whatever you want to say. Big bold sounds, of course, too, with the synths and all those things that go along with the new wave feeling of this time too. But yeah, my goodness gracious, just a lot coming at you right away. And I can't get over it. Just so big. It just sounded so big. But anyway, I guess that's all I got to say. So thanks for watching. Thanks for liking, subscribing, commenting, all of those things. Thanks for emailing me the song as well. I probably wouldn't have reacted to this one next from Gary, but again, I liked the song, and also liked coming to this era that I have not experienced yet, and reading up on what Gary was feeling at this time, and that money was draining at this point too, and that he was putting his money into his work here, and yeah, he just seemed to be, he's just such a different guy. And anyway, people, of course, know his name all these years later. I still feel like he's an underrated guy himself. It's just so many great friggin' hits. But anyway, thanks for everything. I'm going on now, and I'll talk to you guys again soon.